Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. We are at Halloween Horror Nights. This is my first time attending, so we are gonna check out some houses, check out some of the accessibility stuff, check out some food. This might be filmed over a couple days depending on how I last. So yeah, welcome to today's video. Let's head into one of the stay and scream areas because it is park closing time and we've got to head into one of the areas. So we're going to go find one that has some inside areas because it looks like it might start raining and me and my mobility device do not wish to get wet. So these stay and scream areas are places you go to wait while the park is closed before Halloween Horror Nights opens, and they generally open those areas to go to the houses before the front gates open to the general public, so you can generally get a house or two done before everybody else gets in, so you can pick your area for either the house you most want to go to, or what I'm doing is going to the stay and scream area that just best meets your needs. So for me, I'm going somewhere inside.
So if you want to do Stay and Scream, you'll need either a Scream Early ticket, a day ticket, or an annual pass. You'll also need a Halloween Horror Night ticket or one of the multi-night Halloween Horror Night tickets. Stay and Scream basically allows you to get a jump on some of the houses. Now, if you have Express Pass, you may or may not need this, and depending on if you have one of the multi-night Halloween Horror Night tickets, you might also not need this. So some of the stay and scream areas are out in the direct sunlight, so if that is something that bothers you, that might not be the best choice for you. And also if it's raining, that might not also be the best choice for you. And different stay and scream areas allow you access to different houses. So the New York area seems to be one of the most popular ones because it does allow you access to the Stranger Things house, which is one of the most popular houses, and also allows you access to a couple other houses. So that one is very popular because it has a very high volume of houses. So people tend to line up very early in some of these stay and scream areas and can be out in the direct sunlight as soon as they open up those lineup areas. And sometimes are even lining up to get into the stay and scream areas very early. So if that is you, you might want to bring some sun protection, whether that is just sunscreen, or many people bring an umbrella. If it's going to rain, an umbrella works as well as sun protection. So people are bringing umbrellas for both occasions. A lot of people are also using ponchos for the rain. So yeah, just for the weather, no matter which, because you don't really want to be caught off guard in either direction. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the accessibility stuff for Halloween Horror Nights. If you have an accessibility pass, they work the same way they do during the day. So depending on the pass you have, will depend on how it works at night. If you do have an ECV, you will need to transfer to a transfer chair for both the line and the houses. An ECV cannot go through either. You will need to transfer for both. You can't take the ECV through the line. Just the same way you can't take it through any of the lines during the day. You can, however, take a manual chair or a rollator, walker, cane, any of that. You can take that through the line and the house. Some of the corners are a little tight. There are some ramps in the houses. There are some uneven ground, so that's something to keep in mind. We'll talk a little bit more about the individual houses a little bit later. Right now we're just going over some of the general stuff. Now, Halloween Horror Nights is a very loud event overall. There is all sorts of loud noises. There is music, there is screaming, there is scare actors, there's just all sorts of loud noises. So if sounds bother you, you might want to bring some earplugs, noise canceling headphones. So just something to keep in mind when you are thinking about coming to Halloween Horror Nights in that aspect if loud noises bother you. There's also a lot of fog and effects like that in both the houses and scare zones and just kind of all over the park. So if that's something that bothers you, also something to keep in mind when you are coming to the event. Now, I haven't found very many actual quiet areas around the park. The restaurants are a little bit quieter. Diagon Alley is a little bit quieter. With the Death Eater show this year, it is definitely louder than Diagon Alley typically is. The Death Eaters are generally gone around 11 or 11:20. So after that, Diagon Alley definitely quiets down, but it's definitely not super quiet. But yeah, there's definitely not any super quiet areas that I've found yet. The restaurants so far are kind of like the quietest areas, and they're kind of typical restaurant kind of level noise. There's like people and the regular restaurant sounds. So if you do need somewhere to kind of decompress, restaurants and stores are kind of your best bet. First aid also would be kind of a quieter area, and I'm not 100% sure if the quiet room at the front of Universal Studios is open or not. But those are kind of the quietest areas. The park overall is very just loud in general. There's generally something going on in kind of all areas of the park. There's also the Stay and Scream area over in the Simpsons area, which gives you access to houses over there. And there's always access to the bathrooms in these areas as well. They don't like leave you without access to the bathrooms. They'll generally have like a sign or something pointing you to where the closest bathroom is and a way to get there, whether that's an open gate or something like that. So when the park closes at 5, they'll be getting rid of all the day guests and setting up for Halloween Horror Nights. So you'll need to scan your Halloween Horror Nights ticket to get into the Stay and Scream areas. They'll generally be kind of like a little tent and some team members there scanning your ticket to get in.
So each house doesn't necessarily open at the same time. So the Chucky house, which is the one that is in this area, opens approximately 5:45, I'm told. So then you can line up right now, but you can also just stay in the general area, which is what I'm going to do because I don't want to hear none, as I said. So I'm going to head into Rector's and maybe get something to eat first because I haven't had supper yet. And then we'll head in and see how the rest of the night goes. So Richter didn't have any problem getting me a table where I could bring my mobility device right up to the table to either stay in it or transfer over to a regular chair. Okay, so I have gotten my food. I just got some fries because I'm leaving room for hopefully some snacks later. I've never actually eaten at Richter's before. I'm a huge burger person, but very good fries. And then activated my freestyle cup for the night. Just using my Jurassic Park one. I'll probably end up getting a Halloween Horror Nights one some point, but I didn't get one yet. So if you do need special dietary accommodations, you can ask to speak to a manager or chef's assistant, and they can help make that happen. They do have gluten-free buns and stuff like that for those dietary accommodations. And if you talk to them prior to ordering, they will make sure that your food is prepared properly to meet your needs. So that's a good thing about Richter's, and my fries are good, so I'm happy with that. Well, it wouldn't be a day at Universal if it wasn't pouring rain on the first day of my time at Halloween Horror Nights. Or really, it also poured on the first night of Halloween Horror Nights in general. So we're just going to hang out here a little bit longer so my mobility device doesn't get soaking wet, and then we'll head out and do some stuff.
Now, Halloween Horror Nights does have dietary options just like during the day. A lot of their drinks are pre-mixed, so that doesn't have a lot of like options there for changing things. But the food, like the regular restaurants that are open, you can talk to a chef just like you would during the day. But the menus show you for like drinks and food, like what the options are there. So we're not going to talk about like every option, but the menus on the website will show you what is in like each one, like dairy sensitive, gluten sensitive, just like during the day for like the boost and stuff. So we're just going to talk about like a couple different things for stuff. We're not going to go over every option. That would take a very, very long time. So Chucky Killer Treats has the Chucky's Pop Dead Popcorn, which is a gluten-sensitive option. I find this food booth often has a very long line. Next, for our gluten sensitive, we have at our Avenue Eats, we have the creme caramel flan, which is located in our New York area near the Mummy, as well as our Yeti and Dueling Dragon houses. And the Today Cafe, along with having their regular options, has the Rotting Pumpkin, which is a gluten sensitive option special for the Halloween Horror Nights. It's not available during the day or during nights that Halloween Horror Nights is not offered. It's a exclusive offering during Halloween Horror Nights. So at this food booth, we actually have a couple options. We have the Twisted Tater, which is a gluten sensitive option. And also, depending on the seasoning, is either a vegan or vegetarian option, depending on which one you pick. Then we also have the Infected Tater, which is both a dairy sensitive and gluten sensitive option. And now the Last of Us food booths are not really located near the Last of Us houses. So the Lakeside Meat Stew is a dairy sensitive option, and that's at this ration station. It's one of the Last of Us food booths. In front of our Bright Rocket and Jimmy Fallon, we have our next dairy sensitive option, which is the Surfer Boy vegan pizza at Surfer Boy Pizza. Now they also have a couple vegetarian options here as well. They have the Surfer Boy cheese pizza and Yuri's favorite. Right next to a Surfer Boy Pizza, we have the Yeti food booth, which has the vegan burnt and poutine, which is next on our dairy sensitive options.
Now, our 57 Scare Eats and Treats has the African lentil and potato sambusa coffin, which is a dairy sensitive option.
So over by E.T. Adventure and the SpongeBob store pants, the Kids Zone Pizza, the classic pizza fries are gluten sensitive, and the vegan pizza fries are dairy sensitive. So the New York area has a lot of dairy sensitive and gluten sensitive options at the food booths there, and that's one of the most popular stay and scream areas. The regular food booths that are there all the time, as well as the restaurants that have Halloween Horror Nights special offerings, they do not have the items available during the day or on nights when the Halloween Horror Nights is not on. Also, the on-site hotels do have some food available for after the events are over. So like the Bayliner Diner is open at Cabana Bay late at night after the event is over. So they are open, I believe it is 1 hour after the event.
Some of the houses are closed right now, so they do close some of them when the weather's bad because some of them are not as protected from the weather as some of the other ones. So that's just something to keep in mind as well when you're coming if it's a rainy night, and yeah, because the ground becomes slippery and yeah, some of them just aren't protected.
Okay, so the Stranger Things 4 house I found took about 5.5 minutes on average when I walked through. And when I was being pushed in a transfer chair and timed it, it took about 4.5 minutes. So it seems like it takes me about a minute longer to walk through than when I'm being pushed in a transfer chair. And that's at my walking speed, so obviously that's going to be slightly different for everyone. And the only really notable thing I had for that house was that there was a ramp at the end. I found that the lighting was fairly good. The ground was fairly even, so there wasn't really a whole lot that I noted down about that house. The entrance is near Jimmy Fallon, and the exit is near where you come out for The Exorcist Believer and Blood Moon Dark offerings, and like the Jimmy Fallon bathrooms. So the physical queue is pretty long, and like the time in it is normally pretty long as well, just because it's a popular attraction. So the wait time is just like, it's long, it's popular, it doesn't really ever get to be super low. So Blood Moon Dark Offerings took me about 4.5 minutes on average to walk through. The entrance to it is near Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, and the exit is near the bathrooms to Jimmy Fallon. Overall, I found this one to be one of the more accessible houses. I did not really note down any really notable things. I didn't find that it was too dark. I was able to see pretty well. I didn't find that there was too many ramps or anything like that, or any uneven ground that I was tripping over. So yeah, definitely one of the more accessible houses. I mean, the exit was definitely further away from the entrance, but all the houses are really kind of like that. The exit is near where quite a few of them are, like Stranger Things and The Exorcist Believer. That's Blood Moon Dark Offerings, and we'll move on to the next one. Dueling Dragons has technically two sides, blue and red, so fire and ice, where you can choose each side. Red is technically shorter by 10 feet. They both take me about the same time, 5.5-ish minutes, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Didn't really have any notable things there. It's like there's a little bit of uneven ground coming out, just like watch your step kind of as you're exiting. But that's really kind of it for super notable things. Otherwise, I found like it was pretty flat inside. The lighting was pretty decent. When you make your choice, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. Like the 10 feet does not really make a lot of difference. The queue's pretty long, and you come out near Jimmy Fallon and you kind of enter between Jimmy Fallon and the tribute store, which is really fairly close to the Mummy. So the entrance and exit are fairly close together, but the queue is just physically long. Again, doesn't matter the wait time. Now, The Exorcist Believer to me was the scariest. Now, slightly unrelated, but it took me about 4.5 minutes to walk that one, and I found that one to have some slightly uneven surfaces was really the most notable thing for that one. The entrance to that one is near Rip Ride Rocket, and the exit, again, is near Blood Moon Dark Offerings and Stranger Things and the Jimmy Fallon bathrooms. Again, the physical queue is pretty long. The exit queues for those ones aren't super long. They're just kind of where they are kind of slightly out of the way. And again, that's just because where they have to put the houses. Yeah, so those are kind of really the only notable things I had for Exorcist Believer. It is like kind of paranormal scary rather than monster scary, so it depends on what kind of scares you for that. Yeti Campground Kills took me about 4.5 minutes to walk through, and the most notable things I found in that one were that it had some uneven surfaces. I mean, the physical queue line was pretty long, and the exit was a little bit long, although not as long as some of the others. Now, the entrance to that one is kind of between Jimmy Fallon and the tribute store, like in the New York area, and you kind of come out through Jimmy Fallon, like kind of the like one of the like entrance areas to Jimmy Fallon. So that's the Yeti. So Chucky is near Fast and Furious, both the entrance and the exit, and that one normally takes me about 5 minutes to walk through. So my notable thing there is that it has more ramps than a lot of the other houses and ends with a switchback ramp. And the other thing, you kind of like, it's kind of like two parts. You go through the first part and then you feel like you're done, you go outside, and then you're back into a second part, which feels almost like a second house. So that's kind of the thing about Chucky. Yeah, so other than that, there's not really a whole lot of little things. Darkest Deal I found took around 3.5 to 4 minutes, and what I noticed about that one was that it had some uneven ground, and I found it to be particularly dark. I also found that the queue was just physically long, like not time-wise, just physically like long to enter and exit were kind of my noticeable things there. For location, it's down by Men in Black, down in that area. Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins is located fairly close to The Darkest Deal, down by Men in Black, and I found that one took me about 4 minutes to walk through. So it is definitely one of the shortest ones, but again, had a fairly long queue. I find that one to be fairly dark and creepy, like physically dark, so a little bit harder to see where I was going. Yeah, so just that kind of dark. One thing I forgot to mention earlier about Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origin is that the inside of the house has some uneven ground and some ramps. The entrance is also pretty far from the exit. Universal Monsters Unmasked is over by ET, and that one took me about 5-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more. And I found that one to be dark and had uneven ground, and the physical queue was long. The exit was really incredibly physically just long. It doesn't matter how long the wait time is, the line is just long. The exit is just very, very long. So if you're contemplating whether you need to use a transfer chair or something like that, you probably do for those ones. That's just my recommendation, is that the line is long. There's just no way I could walk through that and through the house. Like, it just would not happen. It's too long. So The Last of Us took about 5.5 to 6 minutes for me to walk, and I found that one to be particularly dark on the inside, kind of hard to see where I was going and where things were. So, like, I have fine vision, like normally, but if you have vision issues, that might be something to take into consideration. And physically, the entrance and exit queues are just long. Where the house is located, no matter how many people are in it, it is a long walk to get to and from the house. So I did not walk that part, so I did not time it. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. The house is just physically located pretty far away, so it just takes a long time to get to and from it. So yeah. So we've kind of talked about all our houses individually. So they kind of mostly all have pretty long physical queues. Some of the exits are far away from the entrances, some are a little bit closer together, but like, yeah, that's pretty standard just because of where the locations are. And now there are 5 scare zones: Dark Zodiac, Dr. Oddfellows, Jungle of Doom, Shipyard 32, and BAM 69. And we'll take a quick drive through all of those just so you can see them, what they're like. They can be very loud, have fog effects that make it a little bit hard to see, and scare actors will jump out at you. Now, the sidewalks can be a little bit safer. That doesn't necessarily mean nobody will scare you, but I haven't really seen many people get scared or jump scared on the sidewalks. I've more seen them focus on people in the streets. Thank you for joining me in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!